All right, welcome to The Explainer. Listen up, because today we're talking about something that's less of a health tip and more like a critical safety warning. We're talking about a condition that a lot of people misunderstand: prediabetes. So, let's just start with a number. 98 million adults in the United States alone have prediabetes. I mean, that's more than 1 in 3 people. This isn't some fringe issue, right? It's a massive, and I mean massive, silent public health problem.
But here's the part that really gets me. More than 80% of those people, they have no idea. They're just walking around, completely unaware that a critical system alert is flashing inside their body, one they just can't see or hear. So that begs the question, right? What if that diagnosis, that moment you're told you have prediabetes, is actually a late alarm? What if the real problem started years, maybe even a decade ago? To really get this, we can't just look at the dashboard. We've got to pop the hood and see what's happening in the engine room.
Okay, first things first. We need to get one thing straight. That little prefix, pre, it is incredibly misleading. Don't think of this as a precondition. No. Think of it as an active, blaring alarm. It's your body screaming that its metabolic systems are already under some serious strain.
So what does it mean officially? Well, it's when your blood sugar levels are higher than they should be, but not quite high enough to get that full-blown type 2 diabetes diagnosis. It's the flashing yellow light right before the red. It's a warning of an imminent system failure if you don't take action.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, let's use an analogy. Imagine your body is this super complex, high-tech power plant. And deep inside, you've got the engine room. This is the place that manages your body's main fuel source, which is glucose or sugar.
Now in this engine room, you've got a few key players that are supposed to work together perfectly. You've got the fuel control unit, that's your pancreas. It sends out these delivery workers, that's insulin. And what are they delivering? Energy packets, which is just glucose, to all the workstations in the plant, your body's cells. When this is all running smoothly, you're powered up and everything is great.
But what happens when something goes wrong? A really fundamental system failure can start deep inside that engine room, totally silently, long before any alarms on the dashboard start going off. And this is the root cause. This is the one problem that kicks off the whole cascade of issues.
And that failure has a name: insulin resistance. So going back to our analogy, what's happening is the workstations, your cells, they just start ignoring the delivery workers. They stop opening the door. So the energy packets, the glucose, can't get inside where they're needed. They start piling up outside in the bloodstream, creating this really dangerous traffic jam. So what does the body do? Well, to handle this crisis, the fuel control unit, your pancreas, panics. It goes into overdrive. It starts pumping out more and more delivery workers, just wave after wave of extra insulin, trying to force those workstations to open up and take in the fuel. And you know what? For a while, this brute force approach actually works. And this right here, this is where things get really dangerous and deceptive. Because that main gauge, the one that you and your doctor are probably looking at, your blood sugar level, it can be so misleading while all this internal strain is happening.
You know, a lot of us rely on a standard fasting glucose test. You go to the doctor, they draw your blood. It's basically just a single snapshot, a picture of the fuel levels in your bloodstream at one specific moment in time.
And here is the absolute crux of the deception. For years, that snapshot can look perfectly normal. The needle on your glucose gauge is sitting right there in the green zone. But behind the scenes, it is a completely different story. The only reason that number looks normal is because your pancreas is working itself to death, flooding your system with insulin just to keep that glucose level down. It's a full-blown crisis, but it's hidden. And this hidden crisis, this state of having chronically high insulin levels, has a medical name. It's called hyperinsulinemia. And that is the real early warning sign. It's the sign that your body's metabolic engine is under this immense, totally unsustainable pressure. So let's just make this crystal clear. The damage to the system is happening long before you ever get an official prediabetes diagnosis. All those years of high insulin, of cellular stress, that's causing real physical damage that often goes completely unnoticed.
I mean, look at this timeline. This whole process can just unfold silently over 10, maybe even 15 years. For a decade or more, that fuel control unit, your pancreas, is just working itself to the point of exhaustion, and eventually, it just can't keep up anymore. It can't produce enough insulin to fight that resistance, and that's when the blood sugar levels finally creep up high enough to get flagged as prediabetes.
But the damage has already been happening.
The science is really clear on this. Even during this so-called pre-diabetes stage, your risk for really serious stuff, we're talking cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, even nerve and eye damage, it's already significantly higher. That warning light is on for a very, very good reason.
Okay, but here's the most important part of this whole story. Prediabetes is not a life sentence. It is not a final verdict. It is an urgent, actionable warning. It's your chance to respond to the alarm and prevent a total system breakdown.
And we have solid proof of this. It comes from a huge, landmark clinical trial called the Diabetes Prevention Program. Researchers basically wanted to figure out the best way to respond to this warning, so they tested out different approaches on thousands and thousands of people who already had prediabetes.
And the results? Wow, they were just staggering. Okay, so the group that took a common medication, metformin, they saw their risk of progressing to full type 2 diabetes drop by 31%. That's pretty good. But look at this. The group that focused on intensive lifestyle changes, diet and physical activity, they reduced their risk by a massive 58%. That is nearly double the effect of the medication. It's incredibly powerful.
So if you stop thinking about prediabetes as just some waiting period and start seeing it for what it really is, a critical warning from your body, it changes everything. Your system is telling you it needs help now, before that final red light comes on. The question really isn't just about what the reading on the dashboard says anymore, it's about the health of the entire engine.